Blavity's founder, Morgan DeBaun, has an incredible backstory.
Hi, I'm Morgan DeBaun, founder and CEO of Blavity Inc.
She was an early investor in Tesla and Facebook, graduated at the top of her class from Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. She was hired off of a LinkedIn post at Intuit in Silicon Valley, where she quickly rose through the ranks. Then she left it all to start a media company geared towards Black millennials called Blavity. Blavity Inc. is in touch with over 250 million customers across their media platforms and brands. They take a different approach to business and pride themselves in representing the world and the culture around them.
I didn't know much about Silicon Valley. I knew just enough to be dangerous.
Well, thank you for being here. Yes, we are so excited for this, and thank you for all the help that you did behind the scenes on making this event possible. Can we give a round of applause for that? He gave us an amazing, that's some pretty big count. Let's get cozy. You get in the middle. Let's see, yeah, let's stay cozy. Let's get cozy. All right. So you've built Blavity into a powerhouse media company. What was the turning point where you realized you weren't just building content, but that you were building a true empire with what you were doing?
Well, let's see. So a little bit about me. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I moved from the Midwest, which is very humble, work hard, play by the rules, do the right thing. And then I moved to Silicon Valley, which is very much not humble.
That's it.
It's very much, it's very white and Asian, male dominated. And what was really impressive and what gave me the confidence to be able to build what I've built is that everyone around me was dreaming at scale. Everyone around me was dreaming for millions and billions. And they were unapologetic about it. It was an environment in which the guy at the coffee shop is talking about, oh yeah, I just raised $1 million. Casual. The Lyft driver's trying to pitch me his app. I'm like, what? Turn left. You know what I'm saying? But that was really inspiring to me because that's the way that I had always thought, but I wasn't in an environment in which that was normalized. And I think that when I first started Blavity, I was 24 years old. I had my job at a big tech company and I was working, 2 years out. I didn't know anything, but I thought I knew a lot. It's like, I'm smarter than all these people. And I did not want to wait my turn. I did not want to wait till I was 40 or 50 to be given permission to do what I wanted to do. And that is what you sign up for when you sign up to work for these big companies. You got to follow the career ladder. It's called a ladder for a reason. You got one rung and the next rung. I wanted to leapfrog myself, and I wanted to leapfrog the people around me. So that's when I said, I gotta get out of here. But I'm going to take what they have taught me. I'm going to take this energy and this confidence and this swag and the impossible is nothing mindset, and I'm going to apply it to our community. And Black people, we're already very ambitious.
Yeah.
Right? We're already we have a lot of swagger, but we don't always have the infrastructure and the network to get to the other side. And so I wanted to create a business and a brand that helped our community get the network and the information to get to the other side.
Love that. I love that. Get a round of applause, y'all. So my next question for you is, how has your definition of wealth evolved from when you first started? Because now you're an investor, now you're a mom, also another one on the way. Round of applause for that. She came all the way over here. So how has your definition of wealth evolved from the beginning of your journey until now?
So I was lucky. I had parents who were very financially savvy and taught me to invest at an early age. And yet I still only viewed money as something to accumulate. So I was very focused on, be a millionaire by this date. I was very focused on the number in my bank account, the number in my stock portfolio. I was very focused on raise $10 million from VCs, get to these numbers. And it wasn't until I actually had a conversation with my wealth advisor that, because I walked in that meeting and be like, I'm good. Most entrepreneurs, they do not have financial freedom, despite what Instagram would tell you.
Free. Free.
How many entrepreneurs do we have in the room? Okay, so we're here. Okay. So, when you become an entrepreneur, your wealth dips. because you have this stable W-2 or you have this income that's coming in and you think, okay, I'm going to save some money. I'm going to start investing in my side business. I'm going to start growing. And then reality hits. You take that leap and then your income goes like this and your wealth goes like this because not only do you have to spend more money to live, you also have to invest in your business. And so it takes a lot of entrepreneurs many, many years to go from here back before where they were when they first got into entrepreneurship. And we don't talk about that enough in our community. So you feel crazy. You feel like,
Yeah. What am I gonna
why am I broke?
Yeah.
Like, I do not believe this. I don't feel free.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I actually traded off. And a lot of people go back to work, right? And I think that for me, I had that feeling, but I was able to make the shift when I said, wait, money is a tool. And every choice that I make every single day is a choice towards temporary gratification or a choice and investment into my future self. And so, if you all have any takeaway from this conversation right here, what I want you to remember is every choice that you make can be a temporary gratification or it can be an investment in your future self. Because every dollar that you spend, every amount of time that you spend, will either be something that will give you that adrenaline, give you that dopamine hit, tastes delicious like a crumble cookie,
Yep.
or it can be money that compounds over time. And those are difficult decisions to make. But that is a choice that we're constantly making, whether we like it or not.
1,000%. Love that. Love that. Absolutely love it. Um, so you mentioned something about entrepreneurship, right? And how when you start a new business, it's a dip before it's it's accelerated growth. One thing that we help some of our clients do, especially have W-2 businesses, we teach them how to buy businesses that are already running, so they don't have to start from scratch. Shout out to what's Claudia in the room? Claudia and Nick, y'all here? Okay, so so these are our clients. So they just started working with us, and they were about to start a business, but they just bought another business, so they have to start from scratch. What is your viewpoint on entrepreneur or thought process on entrepreneurs buying businesses that are already operating versus having to start from scratch?
Yeah, I've bought 3 businesses.
Okay,
Slight flex.
side flex.
In a good way. It's not a flex if it's a fact. They're not.
I don't think so. So we bought Travel Noir, we bought Shadow and Act, and then we bought a party series called R&B House Party, which we turned into Blavity Fest. And I've learned a lot through those acquisitions. What I was buying was a Rolodex. What I was buying was existed trust in our community. It would have taken us 10 years to build the trust that Zim and Travel Noir had already built when we bought it. I didn't have 10 years because, again, I didn't want to wait. I'm impatient. Okay. So I'm going to go buy time and I'm willing to do the hard thing, which is to wade through all the things that happen when you're integrating a business. But the result was that we were able to become a portfolio company and to have diversified assets and diversified revenue and diversified industries much faster. So by year 3 or 4 of Blavity, we had 4 brands. And that makes us very different than other Black media companies.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Round of applause for that. Okay, so you've helped lead conversations around economic empowerment. What's one wealth principle you think Black entrepreneurs still don't quite grasp just yet?
I think there's a lot we're still working through. I mean, that's why we're here today. I think if I could tell people one thing, you really have to understand your margin. You really have to understand profit. I think a lot of people focus it again on that top line revenue number. I want to get to $1 million, $2 million. And I see so many entrepreneurs sacrifice their personal income to get to this top line, and their take home is the same. So would you rather have a business that's $10 million a year, but you're only making $300,000 or $250,000, or a business that makes $3 million a year, but you make $1 million a year?
That's
The-
so re-
The ego says,
Yeah.
I want the $10 million
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Our bank account says, I want the $3 million business.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The drip is different though, because with a $10 million different business, you are recognized. You're on lists. You're, you're sponsoring galas. You're doing all types of stuff. So you also have lifestyle creep. When you have the discipline of growing a business that's highly profitable, then you don't waste any money. You're not wasting any money. And I had to learn that the hard way, because the Silicon Valley way is spend a lot of money to make a lot of money to get as big as possible, as fast as possible. There are companies that IPO on the stock market that are not profitable.
That's crazy.
It's a financial principle within this country of dumping the debt, and you just keep dumping the debt to the next person who's dumb enough to buy. Okay. And people become millionaires, billionaires doing this strategy. We, however, are not really cut out for that.
Nope.
The world's not quite ready for us to start dumping our debt into the public market, and then convincing the rest of us to buy those stocks. So I've wasted millions and millions of dollars, trying to keep up with the perception of what we were supposed to be doing. And it wasn't until COVID that we made a switch as a company and said, profit first. Does everybody at our company know what EBITDA is? Does everybody at our company know which products have the highest margin? And even to this day, like last week, I was like, why are we doing this? We're not going to make any money due to this. Like, we're going to make top line,
But
I'm not going to get I'm going to make a cent per dollar. It's not worth my time. And my team still was like, well, we got the RFP. I'm like, I do not care. But it's really difficult habit and rule to break.
Yes. My entrepreneurial life changed recently when I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about our business revenue, and I thought we were having the same conversation, but we weren't. He was giving me his bottom line numbers. I was giving him top line numbers.
Yeah.
And he said, if you want to make it to the next level as an entrepreneur, you have to stop focusing on top line and focus on bottom line, because that's what you actually take home, and don't get caught up in the fluff. So that was really pivotal for me.
It made me think about what we talked about yesterday. You were watching this podcast, and everybody's chasing this big arbitrary number. It's like people don't realize, the thing that what you get out of the thing that you squeeze is the juice, but what gets squeezed is you, the process. Yeah. Like, so when you're chasing this arbitrary goal, like, cool, the next million, the next 10 million, you're the one getting squeezed, and there's no lifestyle alignment. And I'm sure now that you being a mother, soon to be mother too, like, you have to think about things different. Can't do it the same way. So, I mean, so much.
Kids are expensive.
Very expensive. Have a 3.5-year-old that costs a lot of money.
So for the newer entrepreneurs out there that are trying to do and be the everything in their business, right? They're the CEO, the marketing person. What advice would you have for them to kind of like let go of the reins and to actually become a true CEO?
So first, you have to know your data. I talk about this in the book. I talk about this in anyone who talks to me. I'm like, what's the data? And a lot of new entrepreneurs get intimidated when we have to talk about things like EBITDA. There's probably half this room right now is like, I think I know.
Yeah.
But
Can you explain what it is for the people that don't?
you guys are
Oh,
the CPA.
Yeah. It's earning before interest and taxes are taken out. So it's your net income is added back with depreciation, things like that. So if your business does top line, EBITDA is what the investors care about, and what your multiple is. So you don't get a multiple of top line, you get a multiple of your EBITDA.
Yeah. Thanks for those sales discretionary earnings as well. Yeah.
I was like, y'all do this.
Which
But
is 13 though. Yeah.
yes, but in the stock market,
Yeah.
which is a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's important for people to understand the data, so to understand and not be intimidated by these phrases, because this is how your business is evaluated. When you're going to get a loan, they're not looking at your top line. They're looking at your bottom line. So when we say bottom line, EBITDA is what we are saying.
Right.
And they're looking at your margins. Every time I give you $1, how much do you get to take after your cost of goods come out? And if you all can just focus on those numbers and improving those numbers year over year, you will inevitably become incredibly rich.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Clap that up. So you mentioned you have a wealth advisor. We beat us to the punch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, at this stage in life, what does kind of a money team kind of look like for you? What are those key players you have to have on your team, even from the business side, the personal wealth side, in order to kind of make this all work for you?
I got a lot of people. So let's start with just how my life is set up, just from like an organizational chart. So of course I have Blavity, which is a W-2, because yes, we are a business, but we're a corporation. I have 100 employees. I have hundreds of shareholders and investors, and therefore I get paid a W-2 with the W-2 that. Then I have DeBaun & Co., which is my personal business. That's for speaking engagement, brand deals, my book. And that was something I set up very early on in my journey because I didn't want to be defined by just Blavity. I didn't want my income to be dictated to me, even by the own company that I own. There was lifestyle things that I wanted that I knew I could not justify taking that money out of Blavity. It would have been fiscally irresponsible. And as the board chairperson, it was my job to be fiscally responsible. I'm legally obligated to be fiscally responsible because I have investors. So I said, this little $100,000 Blavity is paying me is not enough. Okay. So I need to go build my brand and I need to go do other things. So I have 7 income streams. So what's important about that is now I have a lot of money coming in and a lot of money going out. So I have an accounting team. They file my taxes. They also do all the accounting for DeBaun & Co. Okay. So they file those business taxes, etc. When my husband and I were dating, he's also an entrepreneur, which is a whole nother variant in our lives.
Yeah.
2 entrepreneur household. When my husband and I started dating, I was like, who's managing your finances? Because I'm a nerd. And he was like, and I was like, okay. So then now he has my accountant, which is now our accountant because we're married. But that's really helpful, and this is key. Then I have my wealth advisor, who is besties with my accountant. They don't work for the same firm at all, but that's how we got here. And my wealth advisor does big things. He says, hey, you need a trust. I was like, do I need a trust? He's like, you need a trust.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, how much does a trust cost? $10,000. Okay. So we set up all these different things. So he's the one who's like, in the long run, these are the things you need to have. This is why you put, your house in an LLC. This is why. So he's really a teacher, an advisor, a proper advisor. I haven't paid him a dime. Want to say that because different than your model, but
Yeah.
because he's like, you're going to be so rich. I'm just going to come for it later.
Keeping the end in mind.
I am his brokest client.
Wow.
Okay. You kind of want to be your advisor's brokest client.
Yeah.
Because what it means is that what for you feels difficult, like getting a trust and having that conversation with your parents. I had him get on the phone with my mom and dad and talk to them multiple times. Yeah. What feels difficult to me is his everyday. So you want advisors and people around you that when it feels like anxiety for you and it feels difficult for you, it is their everyday. And so when you're like, I don't know what to do, how do I get a loan for my mortgage because I'm an entrepreneur and I don't have normal income, and they're like, here's a mortgage broker. We need to start paying you a income, so you have a W-2. You're going to pay yourself a salary. Here, doop, 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 doop. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. Like, I don't have to stress about this, right? Now, I'm loyal to this man. So when I get big windfalls, he's going to get it, right? But the money that I manage now is not enough to even meet their minimum, which is about 10 million. So I know, crazy. This New York. Okay, anyways, that's another problem for another day. So I have my accountant, I have my wealth advisor, my wealth manager, and that's the core team. And then there's, tax people and all types of folks under there. But they'll do things like model out my finances for me and say, hey, Morgan, like let's say somebody wants to buy Blavity, which every year somebody's trying to buy Blavity. And I'm like, okay, here's the number, here's the offer, here's the things. They take that number and they say, great, based off of this, based off of the big, beautiful bill, based off of this, you will get this. And based off of your age and based off of our average returns, this is where you will be. So I can make informed decision. Now, ChatGPT and Claude and all these things can kind of do that a little bit now, but it's better to be with the person.
Facts. So you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned that people offer to buy Blavity all the time, right? Which I imagine. I imagine at some point an exit of some sort is on the horizon.
I go back and forth.
Fair. For most entrepreneurs, don't go into it with that mindset. They're kind of going into it like, to your point, like, how can I work the job, I want to place my income, and now I'm building this thing. How do you think about building a business with the end? Obviously, that end target could vary, but how do you approach it that way in your perspective?
I think that the end for me has shifted. So originally I was building it with this idea, because that's what you sign up for when you raise venture funds, was that I was going to exit the business and pay everybody back and they were going to get this big return. And to do that, to get the big return, you have to keep growing 30, 40, 50% year over year, which means you have to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
And you can get stuck. And most venture-backed Black founders get stuck. I don't know if you all saw the news. Ame Nicole, they just decided that they were going to shut down their business, their beauty brand, because they can't raise funding to keep going. So you're signing up to a model that you become dependent on. Every time you want to grow, you got to go raise funding because you don't have the cash flow to invest in yourself. And with the numbers and the data that we know, which is that less than 2% of founders that are getting VC funding are people of color, Hispanic and Black, and less than 1% are women, the odds are not in our favor.
Not in my paper at all. At all.
Okay. So once I said, all right, I got to switch that, then it becomes, okay, then what is the end? Is it pay dividends? Is it everybody's just employed and we all have good income? So I had to redesign and rewrite my own rules around, well, what is the end outcome? And then I had to have, yes, it's the book title, but that's why I had to then talk to all my investors and say, look, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I was smart enough, my past self was smart enough to not give away too much of my company when I was raising venture funding, where I had the authority and the ownership to still be the largest shareholder and say, this is what we're going to do. If you sell too much of your company, they will kick you out.
Wow.
They will kick you out.
Okay, so you mentioned the book, Rewriting the Rules. What prompted you to write the book, number one? And what is the main message you want to convey to the readers that are going to read it?
By the way, before she starts, the first 250 ticket holders do know that you guys, VIP ticket holders, are getting a copy of her book. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So my book came out in the spring, and I wrote the book because I felt like I was realizing, and through a lot of conversations, that I was operating differently. So I'll give you an example. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. When people read my resume, they say she lives in New York or she lives in LA, because that's where people like her live, or that she lives in the Bay.
Yeah.
And when I decided to shift that adjustment in my mind to accumulating clout, accumulating power, to accumulating dollars in my bank account,
Talk about it.
not eventually, but now, not when I sell Blavity, but now, it was a very easy math equation for me to say, I want to be financially independent and I want to retire early, regardless of whether somebody buys my business or not. Have you all heard of FIRE before? Financial independence, retire early. That's what FIRE stands for. Okay. There's different types of FIRE. There's Coast FIRE. Coast FIRE is when you invest a lot of money when you're young. So if you're under the age of 35, you can do Coast FIRE. You invest a ton of money and then you let the power of compounding get you to financial freedom. And financial freedom means you know what kind of income you need to have on an annual basis to live. And then you get enough assets with the average interest of 8% or 10%, that your interest is the income that you live off of. You with me? This is very important, because when you know how much your income, like what you can do with your income, and you know that number, $100,000 a year. I asked my parents the other day, I said, how much do y'all live off of? It says $78,000 a year. They own their house, right? So they have done a lot of things to make that happen for them. And I'm like, well, can I borrow $1? Like, Jesus, y'all got me out here working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all was just losing. That's
But my dad's like, no, right? Because that was so he can now have work optional life. He still works, but it's optional, right? That is what I want for all of you. And that is also what I wanted for myself. So I said, state income taxed in California,
13%.
13%, somebody. State income tax in Tennessee,
Don't know off the top of my head.
0. So, easy math.
Easy math.
I was 29, 30. Okay? So, when I think about these things, you need to it's a choice. Do I miss living in the sunshine? Do I miss the beach? Do I miss those things? Sure. But we just buy a house for a month and live in LA for a month. I'd go to the beach.
Yeah.
It's money I'm saving pays for the beach house.
Talk about it.
Okay?
Do the math. Do the
Math.
math. This is not there.
So it finances my lifestyle. We spend a month in Martha's Vineyard, a month in LA. We can go to Paris for a month. It doesn't even come close to the amount of money I'm saving by that move. These are unconventional decisions. This goes against Black culture in a lot of ways. Okay? And so you all are here today because you want to do the unconventional thing for yourself and for your family and for your freedom. But people will look at you and be like, I remember there's people on Reddit talk shit about a lot of people. So someone was talking shit about me. Of course I read it, which I shouldn't have done. And they're like, is she broke? Is Blavity broke because I moved to Tennessee? They're like, I'm like, I understand that you don't understand.
I understand that you do that.
I was a little hurt.
Yeah, trying to be rational with an irrational person is irrational. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like the importance of that. If I'm just throwing out numbers here, if you taking home $1 million a year and you live in California, you paying $130,000 in state income tax. You move to Tennessee, you just put $130,000 back in your pocket. And in a culture that doesn't think this way, we have to shift the way we think. We have to. I'm okay looking like a fool to a fool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to stop trying to be cool all the time and try to make sure we do the things that set our family and the people that we care about in a better financial position. So I was about to harp on that point.
Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned that you started investing at 13 years old. I just want to know how did that happen? What prompted you? Because we understand that the strongest force in the financial universe is compound interest. It's not about what timing in the market, it's about time in the market. So what gave you the perspective at the age of 13, say, I want to start investing versus like doing anything else?
Yeah. My parents played a game with me. So actually my first exposure to the stock market was in 5th grade. I was in the gifted and talented program, and we did this stock market competition with fake money where you can go and buy fake stocks, and they do this whole competition thing. And I was like, this is kind of cool. This is like Monopoly money. Like, this is fun. I wasn't very good at it. So it was like, what, 10? But I got better. And so I got curious then. And I remember my grandmother, my mother's mother, she didn't work, and she was a nurse, and she would get checks in the mail, and she would call her mailbox money, because this is back when they would mail you the dividend check. So she'd be like, go get my check, baby. And I'd be like, do. And she would make me open it, and she'd be like, this is mailbox money. And I was like, okay, Grandma, what are you talking about? It's just she was explaining to me what a dividend was. She's like, your grandfather invested in this and owns this company, and so we get dividend checks. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I don't fully understand, but that's interesting. So I had a lot of people in my life that were doing things. Then my parents said, my grandma also wrote me $100 check for my birthday and for Christmas. And which is crazy. Back then, I'm like, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But she never changed the amount. It was been $100 issue. Okay. And my parents said, you can spend 50%, but you have to save 50%. That 50% that you spend, you can spend it on whatever you want. Like bubble gum. Like, you can spend it on bubble gum money. But if you invest, we will match it. And I said, hold up.
Hold up.
So I was smart enough. I was already entrepreneurial. I was like, wait a minute. So I was like, bet. And they kept that deal with me until I started making a lot of money. Because then I got a job at Delia's. I got a job at Toys R Us. Then they started giving me bills. They're like, okay, well, now you got to pay for your gas.
Let me show you how bills work. Show you how money. Let me show you. You run this back. Show you how bills work. Yeah.
No problem. I got a job at H&M.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, wait, I can see this. I can understand this. And so I started investing. And then, I'm competitive. So my dad was like, well, what is the return on this? And I was like, well, look at my return on the Netflix stock. He was like, Netflix? I was like, Breadbox is dying. And he was like, what are you talking about? So that was one of the stocks I invested early on in. And Facebook when it was $17.
The good old days.
Like, I only had like $300.
It don't matter.
That means it's, well, yeah.
I'm gonna say it don't matter now.
So see that percentage though.
So I had a buy and hold strategy for most of my life, but I recently changed the strategy. You all know Terry, invest with Terry, shout out Terry.
Shout out there.
So Terry got a hold of me and said, hey, this invest and hold strategy, let me teach you how to day trade. And I was like, no, it's too risky. Like, I'm good. Like, this is up and to the right.
Yeah.
Right? Because over time, you're going to be up and to the right regardless. Right? And she was like, yes, but what if you had done this and done this and done this and done this? And I was like, I don't really understand. I was so terrified to lose the money that I had worked so hard and saved and sacrificed so much in my 20s for. And she got me out of that mindset. Now, I don't day trade like Tara. I mean, she is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I took, we did like private classes, me and a couple other girlfriends, Tiffany the Budgetnista, a few others with her. And we sat and we learned how to day trade so that I could learn how to read better.
Yeah.
And signal better. Now, I don't day trade, but when there's a crazy dip, I can kind of tell, okay, we should grab some.
Get some. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we just talk about that? Because unfortunately in our culture, we believe that if we go to the Jordan store and we see that Jordans are 50% off.
If you're ready to start saving on taxes and multiplying your money from investments, then you're in the right place. The Multiply Your Money Challenge is a 5-day transformational training where for the comforts of your own home, you'll learn the top wealth building and tax saving strategies of the 1%. We're going to be teaching you all the same strategies that we teach our clients that help them increase their net worth by over $100 million last year alone. So what are you going to learn? Well, you're going to learn tax saving strategies like how to pay your children from your business to build tax-free wealth for them. You're going to learn how to leverage real estate to completely wipe out all your taxable income. And George is going to be teaching you investing strategies on how to increase your portfolio and how to access your retirement accounts today, tax and penalty free. This is going to be a life-changing training.
And if you're wondering why we do this, because we actually have an advisory firm where we help our clients do this every day. The reason why is because we believe in greatness on display. What's the point of going to an outdated website with a landing page that hasn't been updated in 2 years and hoping that that advisor can deliver on that promise? Instead, come to a 5-day experience where we are training and teaching you for 5 days, and you'll actually be able to implement some of these things within that time period so that you'll have firsthand experience that we're the money team for you. If that's of interest to you, you've been looking for a money team, click the link below, grab the VIP experience so we can actually answer your personal questions. I can't wait to see you in this transformational financial experience.
Can't wait to see you inside.
Peace.
We go buy as many pairs as we possibly can to either wear or resell.
Yeah.
But then when we look at the stock market and we see that Facebook is down 50%, we get scared and we want to sell. Can you help us unravel that mindset and how to get out of it?
Your emotions are the number one reason you don't have more money today.
Say that again, please.
Yeah, run that back. Run that back, Turbo.
Your emotions are the number one reason you don't have more money today. Again, every dollar you spend is a choice. Just like my parents taught me, I can save the money, which is actually what they were taught, or I can invest the money, or I can spend the money. Those are my options. And we were trained to save. We should be trained to invest. And once you accept the reality of being an investor and being an owner, then you're not doing it off of emotion. You're doing it off of principles. We talked about principles starting. You do it off of principles. So you have to develop your principles based off of your risk tolerance, based off of the outcome returns that you want, based off of the industries that you believe in. So Facebook is a bad example because Mark Zuckerberg is off one now. Like,
Yeah.
I have diversified some of my Facebook allocation. But take NVIDIA, for example. It had a crazy dip, right? A couple months ago when Trump was going crazy, the stock market dipped. The fundamentals of Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google were the same the day before as the day after they dipped. It's the same CEO. Nothing has changed. And it went down. So if you were willing to buy Microsoft a day ago, why wouldn't you have bought Microsoft when it dipped 30%? Which is what I did. Boop,
Back up.
just pay for the house.
Just pay for the house.
You know what I'm saying? But you can decide to sell
Yeah.
or hold. And that is what Terry taught me. Like, you just got that big 30% win. Am I going to save or am I going to hold? Or spend or hold?
Love that. How about you? And so I know that I feel like there's been I don't know the exact timeline, maybe let's call it 3 to 5 years. There's been a kind of a shift. And I feel like your outlook on how you view business. I mean, obviously you've been in a very male dominated space, crushing it, competing with all the big dogs. And then now you're a mother, you're a wife. What made your perspective shift and evolve from just, I'm going to build the biggest thing, be the biggest boss, to now I'm living the soft mom life while still being a boss CEO?
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
The shift actually happened before I met my husband. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and then I met him there.
Okay.
So the shift happened when I said, wait, I'm not winning an award for having the biggest business, but I can pay people better if we have more profits. I can have more freedom. I can live the life that I want to live now. I felt like I was highly dependent on this eventually life. Like, I was highly dependent on, okay, well, when we get this exit, then we'll have this, then I'll have this, then we could do this. And I was like, what if that never comes? And I think COVID taught a lot of us that what if that never comes?
Yeah.
And I think we've all kind of forgotten it because it was 5 years ago. But in the moment, it was all consuming, which is nothing is guaranteed. I think people might be feeling it now because of all the layoffs and AI and things where people are kind of feeling unstable.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you're feeling a little unstable. It's hard. So I don't want to wait for eventually. And that's the other reason I moved, is because I was like, I'm just going to be around my family. If I'm going to be single, why the fuck be single with my mama? Like, of course, it's single in LA, which is not fun.
Yeah.
You know, so God, of course, works in mysterious ways and says, you follow what I said and here you go. Becoming a mom, I think, I don't actually, I'm not building our wealth so that my family can pass it down, actually. I think a lot of people, we talk a lot about generational wealth because we want to pass things down because things weren't passed down to us. I want to build a wealthy life so that what I'm passing down is principles. What I'm passing down is a way of living, not necessarily millions of dollars, right? My son will be much better off for that.
Yes. You mentioned, I will take it back to when you were a child, because I think it's just so important that the environment that your parents and your grandparents put you in made you become the investor that you are today, made you become the businesswoman that you are today. And it is up to us to expose our children to the mindset, to the situation, to the narrative that they can be, because one of my favorite quotes is that you cannot be what you cannot see. So it's up to us to put our children in these silos to show them what they can be. Now, you mentioned today you have an amazing circle like Terry, the Budgetista. How has your circle of entrepreneurs, your circle of friends, alluded to helped your success?
Oh, they're everything.
Okay.
You know, my friends, when people are like, who are your mentors? I'm like, my friends? Like, I don't have these big giants of people who I call when I need help. I call Melissa Butler, who I was texting last night. I would call Terry. I call people in my life that have lived a version of the life that I haven't lived yet. And I say, what should I do here?
Yeah.
And people call me. So it's an entire ecosystem. You know, I was talking to an entrepreneur the other day. They're getting sued by a big tech company, and they're getting subpoenaed, more importantly, which is something you can't ignore. You can't just not show up here. This is subpoena. Well, it's very expensive. So like, what do I do? And I was like, well, do you have this insurance? It's like, I've never heard of E&O insurance. I'm like, okay, somebody messed up.
Yeah.
I should have, maybe I messed up. Maybe I should have told you that. When you raise your venture round, you need to go get key person insurance and E&O insurance so that when these things happen, you only have a deductible instead of having to foot the whole bill. So being around other entrepreneurs has prevented me or reduced my errors significantly. Being around VCs and all these people who've never operated increased my errors significantly. So you need to do an audit in your life of who is increasing your errors and get them out of your inputs. And you need to do an audit of your life and say, who is reducing my errors? And get more of them, create more space for them, more time for them, more brain power for them. The more that you do that, the better off you will be.
Big thanks. Love that. You've also been talking a lot about AI on social media, all the things. So how do you believe AI is going to impact your current business? And how do you believe people in this room today can start to think about AI as they're trying to grow and expand their business? Just how it's going to change the world in general from your vantage. The world.
I had a lot of thoughts. We actually we do a retreat with our executives every year. This was the week of our retreat, so everybody was in Nashville. My co-founder Jeff lives in Atlanta, so I actually had a flight with Kate. Kate's my chief of staff. Hi, Kate.
Kate's Ram. Shouts Kate.
Shout out to Kate. I had a flight with Kate down here, but Jeff drove with his Tesla. And I said, I'm going to ride in the Tesla so that we could talk about, okay, based off of everything we just discussed with our leadership team, what are the changes that we need to make?
Yeah.
These are some trends that we believe to be true.
Yeah.
One, more people will lose their jobs because it will take less people to get the work done. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, that means that you don't have to have 100-person, 50-person company to get the same amount of work done. If you're an employee, it means that you are increasingly becoming less relevant. So what we believe to be true is that over time, highly skilled people will become more fractional. So because they'll lose their jobs and they will still be incredibly skilled, they will have a portfolio of jobs and become entrepreneurs. There will be more entrepreneurs, whether they want to consider themselves one or not.
Yeah.
Right? The second thing that's important is that, like I said, more robots, which is AI, will do the work for you. I thought this was going to happen later in the year. It happened yesterday. ChatGPT released their AI agent. An AI agent, raise your hand if you've heard the term AI agent. Okay. So when you're talking to ChatGPT, you're asking a question, it's taking your question in the context you gave it, and then it's giving you back a response. An AI agent does the work and the task for you autonomously. So right now you might say, hey, Chat, I'm going to go out to dinner in Atlanta. Where should I go? What should I do? What should I eat? What should I order? An AI agent will say, yes, and I'm going to book the reservation on Open Table for you. That's the agent. It autonomously performs tasks. So what that looks like today is that ChatGPT will open up a new browser and it will take the mouse and you will watch it clicking a task. Do, 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 do. Sprouts order. Boop, 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 boop. Well, I used to have a virtual assistant in the Philippines that did that. So she just lost her job.
Yeah.
That is what's happening at scale at these companies when they're like, we're replacing our employees with AI. Like they're doing that first with the engineers and coding. You can go on Claude today and say, hey, Claude, Claude users in here? Okay, so if you haven't used Claude, Claude is ChatGPT's, smarter cousin. They're rivals though. Okay, one went to Harvard, one went to MIT. I don't know. Claude went to MIT in that scenario. Okay. It's more scientific. It's better at coding and research. So you can go into Claude today and say, hey, Claude, build me this app. I want it to do this. I want it to do this. I want it to do this. I want it to look like this. Here's a screenshot of some things that I want to have in it. It will open up a side profile. It will code it live in front of you. Today. You could do this tonight, right now. Okay. I was coding all week. I'm an engineer. My team was sick of me. They were sick of me. But I want to say this last thing, and you can ask me their question. But we were in a retreat this week with all my executives, and we were dreaming up the future of Blavity. And we used to then have to go back home and write up all the notes. And Kate would organize all the tasks and send it out to everybody. And then we create a project tracker and we say, what did we commit to and what have we done? I had on a little microphone that transcribed everything in real time in the room. Those tasks, those things, they're already written out. Okay. We all opened our laptops and we said, dream of the future. And then we coded it. And then we had a meeting with our engineering team and our design team yesterday. They were a little annoyed, I think, because I really do think they were annoyed a little bit because instead of, I used to be like, I want the Blavity website to do this and do this and do this and go talk to Susie and go, and then they would go do all that. But now I said, this is what I want it to look like. And it looks very good. It looks better than what they probably could make in their V1, but I can't build it. But in probably 3 months, which means probably a month, because technology is moving even faster than I think we can process, I could probably build it. Right? So then it becomes like, well, what is their value in the company? Now, they're critical thinkers. They're very smart people. They will have jobs for a very long time. But it does require us to think differently about what is the human value if it is not to do all these tasks, because we have AI agents doing the tasks for us. Now, I could go into a whole other topic, but AI agents is what I want people to hear about today, because that's what you're going to see on the news and online and all these things over these next few weeks.
Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that because I don't want people like getting the doomsday. Like, I'm going to lose my job. But like, you have to be aware, and the winner goes to the best prompter. If you're smart enough and you take the time to learn how to prompt the AI, you will have a place in the marketplace, right? But I think it is irresponsible to ignore it. And especially as entrepreneurs, it's up to us to either learn how to use it or bring somebody into our company that knows how to use it to help us grow and scale faster and keep our margins higher.
And I think prompting isn't even going to be the skill anymore.
Really?
I think that they're going to figure out how to make us, I mean, it's already kind of happening. So if you prompt in certain systems like Claude, it'll enhance the prompt for you. It'll be like, girl, that was a bad prompt. Let me do it for you. Seriously. So, or you go into ChatGPT and you're like, this is what I want to do. And then you say, write this prompt. So the systems are going to start writing their own prompts. So part of technology and part of being a futurist is that you've got to be able to push yourself even further than the system that you're living in today. And by the time you catch up, people in the Bay, they're so far ahead of us, and again, that's about, if I really wanted to be a futurist, I would have to move back to San Francisco because they're already a year or two ahead.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like my basil in my garden. I am just fine in Nashville, Tennessee. You have to decide how much you want to participate in this world. So each and every single one of you has to decide how much you want to participate. There are still people who ride around in horses. There are. They exist. There are people who walk around with out a smartphone. There are people who do not use the internet. John Rogers, who's head of Ariel Investments, one of the biggest, blackest mutual funds in the world, he does not use the internet for real. Like, he kind of emails, but not really. Like, he prints out things and he preps for meetings. Now, he's in his 60s, maybe 70s. He can do that. He's like, I only got a couple years left. I can do that. But that is a choice, right? You all have to make a choice. You're here this weekend because you're deciding what choices you're going to make, what inputs you're going to accept, and which things you're like, you know what, that's just not for me.
Yeah.
That is not my call. That's not your call. It's not your call. It is your call, what you're willing to accept. That doesn't mean the world won't keep moving without you.
Okay. So as we conclude this amazing interview, by the way, our company's name is Melanin Money. Our goal is to create Melanin Millionaires. So the question I have for you is, what does being a Melanin Millionaire mean to Morgan?
I think being a Melanin Millionaire for me means having freedom, freedom to live the life the way that I want to live it with the people that I want to live it with. And for me, freedom may still mean working. Freedom may still mean, spending that month with my family in a big house. Freedom may mean being in the backyard with my basil and my very ugly tomatoes that people keep eating before I get back to them. That is what freedom looks like for me. And my hope for all of you all is that you define what freedom looks like for you. And it may not make sense to everybody else around you, just like it didn't make sense to everybody when I moved to Tennessee. But I can guarantee you it makes sense to my bank account.
Come on now. Come on now.
Okay.
Come on.
That is why we're here. That is why you all decided to be here today. So take the things with you through this weekend to define your own rules for what freedom means to you and what wealth means to you.
Awesome. Y'all give it up for Morgan. Here.